Well, a very good morning, everybody. Welcome along and to all of you on the Zoom. Hello, Eunice. Hello, Robin. Hello, William. And Diane Lennon's there. Hello, everybody. Strange old day today, but it's a perfect day. We're here and we celebrate the beginning of the Lenten season. Most of the Christian churches are celebrating it, and the season of prayer and fasting, and in some cases, penance. Quite severe in the older days, I believe. But Lent is a man-made institution. There's nothing about it in the Bible. But it has a sound spiritual background and spiritual base. Moses, Elijah, and Jesus set a precedent for it, and each observed a 40-day fast of physical and mental prayer and fasting in the traditional sense. Moses received the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai at the end of his 40-day fast. Jesus began his ministry after 40 days of prayer and fasting in the desert, and this was on Mount Hebron. And it seems the ancient Hebrew writers made a practice of using numbers to symbolise these ideas. The number 40 in their tradition was a 4 square number, suggesting the idea of laying a foundation, something to follow, and an idea of completeness. Will I get away with that, Beverly?
Sorry. Yes,
That completed? You think 40?
Yes.
Yes. So.
It's the square and stability.
Yes. Some may know how Jesus was tempted by the devil during his 40-day fast. And in the revealing word, thank goodness we've got that in the dictionary there, the massive thoughts that have built up race consciousness through many generations of earthly experiences and crystallised into what may be termed human personality. And my goodness, how many different personalities are there? We never know what's inside that we've accumulated over lifetimes, perhaps. Now, Jesus was offered a chance to become king of the world, so to speak, and he was could be a charismatic leader with his armies at his disposal to take over who he wanted. Matthew 4, the devil taketh him to an exceedingly high mountain and shows him all the kingdoms of the world. And verse 9 continues, all these things I will give unto thee, if thou should bow down and worship me. Give in. My goodness, what's changed? Jesus was, some claim, a Jewish rabbi. He knew his countrymen were looking for a Messiah to lead them out of the Roman bondage. He had read and studied the Old Testament, the Hebrew Scriptures, and he could fit into that description if he chose to pursue that course of action, but he didn't. And if you want to find out more about that, you can read the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 4. So, Lent, 40-day period of prayer and fasting. It commenced last Wednesday, which, as Leslie alluded to in the meditation, Ash Wednesday leading up to Holy Week. We called it Easter. And I didn't do too much research on Ash Wednesday, but I believe the penitents used to put ash on their forehead as a symbol for the next 40 days. But for most of the population, it's another holiday or time off work. But for some, they value it as a time of spiritual renewal. Many, I believe, are past the stage of believing that a set calendar date is the only time to have a Lent experience. And just as every part of the earth is holy ground, so too is every moment of this time, holy time, to consciously pursue and put into action our spiritual beliefs right where we are, right here and right now, as that saying goes. What a challenge that is. And I just, over the last couple of months, in the state of mood I'm in with having to take it easy, I just thought, look at how am I using my time? I wasted quite a bit, but in a way, I just wonder whether there were things going on in me that I had to tune into, and eventually I got a few messages about my future, and I thought, well, obviously I'm meant to sit quietly for a little while yet. The book of Ecclesiastes in chapter 3 reads, "There is a time for all things under the sun. However, not everything happens at the same time." We are all in our own timetable of spiritual unfoldment, which brings forth the blessings and the challenges we need. We need them as we put our operations into our thoughts, feelings, words and actions, and reap the consequences and blessings, perhaps. We are all at different places, yet we are all fellow travellers on the path. Or should I say paths? The poet Robert Frost, his poem, "The Road Less Travelled." Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the road less travelled, and that has made the difference. End of quote. So where does this path lead to? This is very zen here. Some say the path is a realisation that all roads eventually lead to ourselves. Some call it our higher self, Christ consciousness, and other such names. My well-worn copy of the Tao Te Ching, which means Book of the Way, the sage says, "Without stirring abroad, one can know the whole world. Without looking out the window, one can see the way of heaven. The further one goes, the less one knows. Therefore, the sage knows without having to stir, identifies without having to see, and accomplishes without having to act." Well, that's all right for the sage. But there's an old saying, we can't get to heaven by betraying the earth. There's a saying, don't just do something, sit there. But if you do, and you're not ready, what a waste of time that will be. Everything is in divine order wherever we are, and we can't sit in the one place until we realise we've been around the world. And I look at all the things I did. I started off at school and left school, and I suppose I thought I could have been quite happy being a quite suburban music teacher in Penguin, Tasmania, with the sea there, and be one of those old surfy jets that goes crook at the young people in the surf club. But that wasn't what I had to do. I knew, looking out over Bass Strait, there was something beyond that horizon, and here it is. In Luke 17, verse 21, Jesus tells his followers, "Neither shall they say, 'Lo here or there, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you.'" I mention Yogananda quite often, and he says, "Within your physical form is the secret doorway to divinity." A poem by Robert Browning called Paracelsus. We learnt this at about third year in high school. It meant absolutely nothing to me, as much as those other poems did, like the Pied Piper of Hamelin and a few others we all had to learn. But anyway, it might have sown a seed. I didn't understand it then. We just sort of thought, oh, it's another poem we have to recite a verse to. So look, I'm not going to recite it. I'm going to put it up there. I'm going to play a little background music for you to meditate it on for a minute. Couple of minutes. Did you read the words? Aren't they beautiful? They really mean something now, so to me. Finally, about prayer and fasting. Now, I don't recommend, from the platform, you to go home and fast for 40 days. For many reasons, we'd have a camera crew up here wondering what sort of cult we're running. And it's just one of those things. Yet fasting, we know, was used by many spiritual seekers over the times and later religious leaders, right up to John Wesley. His story is amazing. He was one of the founders of Methodism. Now, eons before that, Pythagoras fasted for 40 days. Gautama Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree for 40 days. And the early Christians, according to the Didache, an early catechism, fasted Wednesday to Friday. Martin Luther wrote that fasting should be voluntarily and private to avoid the sin of spiritual pride. Some fast for political reasons, like Mahatma Gandhi, and there have been others. Some fast for forgiveness, protection, and to overcome temptations, as did Jesus when he was tempted those 40 days on that mountain in that desert experience. In unity, we aim to become conscious of our thinking. And we fast from negative thoughts. Not easy. We observe them as they come up, but we deny their power over us. We change our thinking, as the song we're going to sing soon, because I am the thinker. Prayer, not only in Lent, can be what we call affirmative prayer, with one vital ingredient, feeling. We use affirmations to affirm the good we already have and to affirm what direction for us to take in the future. Now, prayer is affirmations, fasting the denials. That's how we look at it in unity. These may seem a bit easier than on your knees prayer or fasting 40 days without food, but I don't think so sometimes. The condition and world consciousness can be overwhelming, as we know at this particular time that we have chosen to come here and be here at this time as vehicles of peace. Not easy. But the Unity Fifth Principle says, knowing and understanding the laws of life are not enough. A person must also live the truth that they know. And this isn't just for 40 days. Finally, in our journey throughout eternity, We can embrace where we are right now, to embrace what we need to learn right here in this mystery school of Mother Earth. We are a trinity of spirit, mind and body. And we give thanks for our body, which is our partner here at this stage of our journey. It's our spacesuit for spirit and mind at this stage of our being. For those willing to take the road less travelled, as did many on the path before us, and use the time of Lent to consciously put into practice all our unity, new thought teachings in our daily lives, appreciating the beauty and abundance which is always here, and the realisation that we are as spirit in action and that the kingdom of heaven, this imprisoned splendour, is within us all. We aim to release more and more of that inner splendour while we can, where we are here right now with the gift of this life. So be it. Thank you.